Welcome to this edition of Health Talk. My name is Julianne Raftery, and I'm joined by Dr. Fred Sylvester.
Thank you.
And today we're going to be talking about ultra-processed foods and the health harms. So first, What is ultra-processed foods?
So ultra-processed foods, they are everything that you can think of that would be bagged in, we'll say put in plastic containers, right? That's going to be anything from your candies, that's going to be your sodas, that's going to be your chips, your cookies, anything that is heat to ready serve. So, your quick pizzas and those type of things, all those types of things, those are going to be most of your ultra-processed foods. Also energy bars too. They're also, an important piece of what ultra-processed foods look like and are part of.
Please tell me about the study that you briefly went over earlier about ultra-processed foods.
Yeah, so the most recent research out about ultra-processed foods is coming down to the concept that it was done where this was an umbrella study. And the umbrella study, what they did is they went into the databases of the Cochrane Review, Medline, PubMed, and they pulled out anything that would had ultra-processed foods being researched over the last 20 years. In their totality, they were able to follow over 9 million people who have been studied over the last 20-some years.
Wow.
And the overwhelming evidence of that was very, very revealing as we went to looking at the healthful harms that are associated with these quick, convenient snacks.
I'm sure. So what are the effects of these snacks?
Yeah, so it's very interesting. So we look at it, it's a global body system involvement. So there's some cardiovascular issues that can be, observed. There is some diabetic concerns, which would be to the pancreas. There's some mental and brain chemistry that gets altered in all these types of things.
Wow.
So the latest research that came out, they were showing that the first one is that it increased cardiovascular disease and fatality almost by 50% over the course of the study. Okay?
Oh my gosh.
So it's not that people, were dying because they're eating this type of stuff, instantaneously, but by dripping this stuff into you over and over at this point, it increases the chances for those types of, cardiovascular disease and morbidity to it. Type 2 diabetes went up by 12%. So again, when you're looking at how that interplays with society, and diabetes is one of those diseases that affects multiple systems, not just sitting in the pancreas. It can affect nerves, it can affect eyes, it can affect many different things.
Yeah.
Anxiety went up by 48%.
Yikes.
And overall global combined mental disorders went up by 53%.
Just by eating these foods?
Eating these foods over a constant period of time.
Wow.
So, it is important. What we put into us usually becomes what we become, and so it influences our internal world. And as our internal world becomes, more processed per se, these things have direct impacts on our overall health.
So why do you think people go for ultra-processed foods, knowing all this information that I now know as well?
Yeah, I think what happens is most people think that, I'm just eating one little piece here and it won't, make a big difference. But what happens in a lot of these things that we consume, they have a cumulative effect. And so on average from the research, most people consume up to 9 servings of ultra-processed foods per day.
Wow.
That can be your cereals in the morning, that can be, your breads in the afternoon, that can be your candies that you munch on throughout the day, a cookie at nighttime, a soda if you're drinking, that type of stuff. So all these things that you think that are just individually not related and have accumulation, and then what happens is then that typically has, sometimes devastating effects on what happens to us.
Yeah.
The reason that we have ultra-processed foods comes down to this. It simply comes down to we want convenience, and we want things that can last really long on a shelf. And the more that we can do those types of things, then it becomes us becoming less involved in our own cooking as well.
Yeah. So what would you recommend to people who typically lean towards ultra-processed foods just out of convenience and affordability?
So I was just introduced, I think you were telling me about an app called
Yucca. Yucca, I believe I'm pronouncing it right.
Yeah, and this is a very interesting thing because it's a tool that you can utilize. You can do the barcode on it. And
scan the QR code on your phone.
And it will come up on your phone telling you if this is a good ultra-processed food or if this is something that you should be really thinking bad of.
Yeah.
And then it gives you some amazing, alternatives to that as well.
Yeah.
Just remember, in ultra-processed, it comes down to this. The more ingredients you have on it, the more chances that there is, undesirable effects for it. Yeah. So when you look at your ingredients, if it has 1 or 2 things on it, that's a pretty good decision to make. But if you see something that has all these crazy names to it and has 21, different ingredients, that's probably not going to be the best choice for you as well.
Yeah. So truthfully, just hearing this from you and all the awful side effects of continuously eating these foods, it makes me want to throw out half the stuff in my cabinet.
Yeah.
I mean.
So here you go. You can start with this.
Oh.
No. So now these are examples of ultra-processed foods. You know,
Okay.
these are just going to be your candies and that type of stuff that you see.
I mean, you see the sugar, it's coated.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
so what happens with this is that, you know, these become consumed. And it doesn't look like a lot, but, you know, what is a serving of that? Is that 1, 2, 6, whatever it is? It doesn't matter.
Right.
If you consume that bag over the course of a day, you pick on it, this is where you start to see the changes that take place in a person's overall health. Another fascinating study was done in 2022 by Wang, and what he had found is that when you eat a lot of these ultra-processed foods is that for men, it increases colorectal cancer by 30%.
Wow.
In women, it doesn't seem to have that effect. It doesn't seem to have that same devastating effect. But they also did the same thing on the same study where they said, let's reduce, you know, by 3 to 4 servings per day.
Mm-hmm.
And what they saw is radical changes taking place in people's overall health. And that was from decreased depression, decreased anxiety, also
Wow.
decreased, you know, in cardiovascular disease as well, by just simply reducing 3 to 4 servings a day.
Right. I mean, it's just fascinating to hear about, and these studies too just show you even more reason to stay healthy.
Be mindful of what you're
Yeah,
eating.
be mindful.
People who are
Yeah.
even being healthy sometimes are, you know, unbeknownst to them, making choices that are not as healthy as they think.
Yeah. Do you have another closing message for the audience here about ultra-processed foods?
I think awareness is the first step, and sometimes it's curative in itself.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, Dr. Fred Sylvester, and good day, good health.
Thanks.